Welcome back to I Love. I am Podan. On today's episode, we're going to be doing a special send-off to the DCEUs Snyderverse, which is coming to a close very soon. And we're going to be ushering in, thanks to that new video from James Gunn himself, DC Universe's new Gunverse. That's right. Being a child that grew up in the 90s, I had a sensory overload of comic book films and television shows, and I happen to love almost every single one that has come out. Oh yes, from the Batman movies to Spawn movies to Tank Girl happening. Oh yes, that was a lot of fun. Then on TV, we had the Marvel Action Hour. Oh yeah, full of X-Men, Spider-Man, Invincible, Iron Man. Oh yes, the Incredible Hulk. Oh, She-Hulk, and the Fantastic Four. Tons and tons of cartoons. And even DC got in with the Batman animated series that went on, to the Superman animated series, to Justice League and beyond. Tons and tons of comic book movies and TV show adaptions. Oh yes, but I would like to give my opinions on this video and this new era that the DC is gonna be entering. Oh man, is it a reboot? Or is something special possibly happening? Reboots. What are they, and what purpose do they hold in the comic book world? In case you are not aware, some people are not, comic books happen to reboot all the time. This is something that happens to occur, I feel like, roughly 10, 15, maximum of 20 years. It most likely occurs due to diminishing sales of the comic books. As time goes on, people age, they stop reading comic books. If the stories do not restart in some way, who's going to read the books? Nobody wants to jump in to a story that's in the middle. That's right. So, comics have done this many times. As a example, DC has done this with stories such as The Crisis on Infinite Earths, a very popular one, or 0 Hour, Infinite Crisis, 52, and the more popular one and relevant, Flashpoint, and Rebirth. Marvel has done this as well with their storylines, Infinity Wars, the Ultimate Comics storyline. I include this as well as it's not really a reboot, but it is a whole nother bunch of the same characters being told another way. Well, the other original stories were still going on. But then there was also Marvel Now and the upcoming Fresh Start. I also want to include in that sometimes characters sort of have reboots or changes drastically. Notably in the 90s when Superman, it was part of the story, but his entire costume and powers were changed. I loved this storyline. Some people didn't like it. I saw this as almost a very humanizing thing in the great Man of Steel's story, where he suddenly had to adjust to not being immortal almost, and learn all new powers. And of course, red and blue. He split in two. That's right. Super duper cool. Now, why is this relevant? I wanted to bring up before we get into the films massively and the good stuff about the future of the DCU. Let's compare why the DCEU sort of needs a reboot. Why could this be? Well, the DCEU started in 2013. It began with the Man of Steel film, and then it has now lasted, of course, a decade to 2023. This has consisted of 13 films, culminating in a team-up of our main characters in Justice League. The story does end in a cliffhanger, sort of. It does have a good ending with the Zack Snyder verse ending, but it could have more. but it's okay. It's a decent place to end. But now, let's contrast this to the MCU. They started in 2008 with Iron Man, and a decade of their movies leads us to 2018, where they already made 20 films, and of course, this completed 3 phases of story, culminating in the end of an incredible story, almost Star Warsian in epicness. And that, of course, is the defeat of Thanos in the Infinity Wars. Very, very epic. But I like all of these movies. I'm not saying one is better than the other, but you can see that Marvel definitely created movies faster and more cohesively connected than the DC movies that we got. The DC movies were fantastic, but it will be freaking awesome to see them go on to something new. Hopefully more fast-paced and more connected, as I said. Now, let's take a quick peek at movie rebooting, something that some people might not know because, there are lots of versions of a lot of these characters. Movies reboot even faster than comic books. And in the last 20 years or so, sometimes 30, some of these characters, we've seen 3 to 4 versions of them. Of note, of course, is Spider-Man, the more recent Tom Holland version. He has 3 films and has appearances in other Marvel movies. Then, of course, before him, we had Andrew Garfield's version, The Amazing Spider-Man, only getting 2 movies and drastically being cut short so that they could make a new version to add to the MCU. And, of course, when I was younger, we got the Tobey Maguire version, getting 3 films that all did extremely well, and there was going to be a 4th film that was, I guess, basically canceled and then turned into the Amazing Spider-Man storylines. Another one of note is Batman. Batman had the 60s TV show that is very important, but then of course there is the 89 Tim Burton version, and then the Dark Knight trilogy that happened, more modernizing. Then we got the Ben Affleck version in the Snyderverse, of course, with Batman v Superman, and then we just got The Batman, and we are getting, and confirmed already, the Brave and the Bold version of Batman coming with the new DCEU. So that is insane. Another one I love to note because I do like most of the versions. Matter of fact, all of the versions of this character, and that is the Punisher. Most people would remember, and of course, the most recent TV series one from Netflix with John Barenthal playing the character. A very good character. Of a very good portrayal of the character Punisher. The movie before that was Punisher Warzone. This one was done by Ray Stevenson. Very fun movie. Felt a lot more comic book oriented. Then there was the Thomas Jane version of Punisher. This one was cool. Lots of fun. Felt more realistic, I would want to say. But then, one that some people forget is the 80s version with Dolph Lundgren. I tell people to watch this one as it is extremely accurate to the character and still a lot of fun to watch. But as you can see, movies and comic book movies especially reboot a lot and quite frequently. So let's get into why this reboot is special. First of all, is it a reboot? What is a reboot now? Well, I would like to note that I don't think that comic book movies have to necessarily reboot at all anymore. That's right. Because a little known fact, if you haven't seen it, because some people don't like the CW movies or TV shows, the CW a few years back did something quite incredible, I would like to say. And if you haven't seen it, then here you can find out. They did a storyline of the Crisis on Infinite Earths, crossover, reboot storyline. This is a very important story because in the comics, the point of it was to take all of these different stories that they had in their multiverse and smash it all together and then be able to restart it in one cohesive story that everybody could read then and know what's going on. That's exactly what they did here in the CW. And when they did it, they included every single version of film, TV, of every single DC character that they had. So basically, in that vein, they basically stated, have any of these characters ended or rebooted? Maybe we have just gone to another universe or multiverse or Earth version, and now we're watching this one at this point in time. Very cool. And of course, Spider-Man just recently did this as well with his most recent film, bringing the multiverse of the Marvel Universe to, I guess, full fruition now, because, you know, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield got to get sucked in as their Peter Parkers and their villains, and they all got to be together thanks to, I guess, Doctor Strange and the Loki storyline smashing the multiverse to pieces and making all of these things be like, well, was Spider-Man ever rebooted, or did we just go watch another of the Spider-Verse? Oh yes, that is very, very cool. And this makes it very important because now, is it rebooting, or is it just part of the story? James Gunn, of course, created that video that he put onto the DC YouTube channel. If you haven't watched it, I will put it in the link. A link for it in the description down below. This video was incredible. I want to say why it's neat is because he just kind of came out and literally was like, this is what's happening. I know these movies are in the pipeline. This is where we sit with them. This is what's happening. And this is where we're going. He also notably stated that the Flash movie will be what resets the universe. I think this is important because that would mean, in my hopes, that this is not then a reboot. The Snyderverse is still canon. It's just what happens before Flash or Flashpoint, just like in the comics that happened a few years back. So this is super fantastic. Not to mention, through the video, he explains how we will still be getting the rest of the Snyderverse, I guess, connected films like Aquaman, Blue Beetle, and then, of course, Flash, which will happen and be the sealer of the deal. The Black Adam Shazam movies, I think, kind of got sidelined now thanks to the Rock controversy. If you don't know about it, I will just let you look into it yourself, but it seems as though he had some hand in the background which could have maybe ruined the future of those films, which is too bad, and it is noticeable. I do like the movies, but I will just say, Black Adam was not evil at all. And Superman had no reason to come see that Black Adam because he wasn't bad. So yes, but that is okay, because we have new movies that are coming soon, and we can see where it goes from there. And as well, I would like to note that it seems like he noted in this video that Blue Beetle will possibly be part of the new universe rather than the old universe it was supposed to be part of. And that makes me think that, similar to the Shazam situation, the Aquaman movie might have a similar fate, where how it's coming out after these other movies, we might see that if it does really well, maybe Aquaman wasn't affected as much by the time problem that the Flash causes. Oh yes, so we'll have to see. Now, let's do a quick rundown of the projects coming with a few extra notes as to what I know of the comics themselves and what could be coming with them. So, first we're going to start with Creature Commando. This is going to be an animated series. This is going to have Frankenstein character, a vampire type character, a wolfman type character, and a Creature from the Black Lagoon-esque type of character. Very Universal monster-like. There was a similar comic line like this during the Flashpoint storyline that was very, very fun. And this actually goes back to older comic books that they used to do. Very fun, very, very good comics. Next we have Waller. This is going to be a continuation of the Peacemaker type Suicide Squad storyline, which I would imagine is going to continue probably more or less unaffected by the Flash stuff, since these characters, most of them aren't even metahumans. They're just, characters for the most part. And we'll see how this plays out, if anything needs to change, and Viola Davis will be returning as the character. Then we start off with the big film of the new DC universe for the Gunverse, the Gods and Monsters Part 1 start. This is Superman Legacy, our new Superman for this new universe. This should be a lot of fun. He did state that I don't think that this is going to be an origin story, which plays back into the Flashpoint-esque thing of the Flash. When we get back to our reset, these characters' lives will already be in motion. So that's very cool. More Star Wars-esque coming in episode 4 rather than in number 1. Then we have Lanterns. This will be our Green Lantern storyline. Kind of a true crime on Precinct Earth. This will follow multiple Lantern stories. Notably, Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan should be both there. Hopefully we get some Guy Gardner as well. Gotta love him. It would be fun. Then we have The Authority. This is important because this is part of the Wildstorm comics that became part of the DCEU from Flashpoint, actually. Hint, hint, possibly that maybe the Flash's Flashpoint will cause a similar situation, and that's why the Authority is showing up now. They are a team sort of like the Justice League, more akin to the Boys, using their powers to right the wrongs of man with a little harder fist, actually. So that should be neat to watch. Then we have Paradise Lost. This will be the Wonder Woman type of series that will follow a story on Themyscira. That'll be interesting to see. Will it be about Wonder Woman, or will it be about the Amazonians? We'll have to see. Then we go to The Brave and the Bold. This will be the Batman and Robin story. This will follow Bruce and Damian, based on the Grant Morrison run. This will also be noted as the start of the Bat family in the new Batman universe. So possibilities of Batgirl, Batwoman, even Batwing, and others maybe. And then this one I'm extremely excited about is Booster Gold. He is a great story, and I love the comics. And he's fun because he's the underdog. He is a future loser. In the comics that I remember reading, he was a janitor at a superhero museum, and he actually steals technology, I believe it was a Legion ring, to become a superhero by going into the past where nobody knows who he is. Very cool. And kind of some like, I want to not be myself, be a superhero kind of storyline. I wish I was somebody else. Then Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, this will follow the Tom King's run of the same name, and this is supposed to be a big sci-fi epic. This is awesome because I have always felt that Superman should have a movie off-world, off of Earth. And Supergirl is a great vessel for this because she is the same as Superman, but her story can be darker, and it sounds like this story will take place mostly in space, maybe all of it, on the destroyed piece of Krypton that she grows up on, where most of her friends have died or she has watched die. This should be a very, very fun and awesome movie. And then rounding up the list will be Swamp Thing, a very dark horror story that will as well connect to the larger Gods and Monster Phase 1, we can call it, story of this new DCU. Very, very cool. Another thing I would like to note and hope, one of the problems I always saw with the DC movies in the past, going all the way back to even the Tim Burton film, they were always very dark, very, I want to say, teen or adult-oriented, something that Marvel somehow got away with. And I think that as a fan and as a group of fans, we should all hope that with this new leadership and these new movies that we get this with DCU. Of course, we want darker, grittier storylines, but what we really want is these movies to be a wider appeal, so more people can watch them, they can be enjoyed by more people, and they can be more successful this way. Similar to Marvel's cinematic universe's success with their movies. Yes, we still get killing, yes, we still get crazy storylines, but everybody can enjoy them. A lot of the DC movies, you'd be hard-pressed taking your kids there, and all of a sudden, look what you just let them see. They're pretty dark movies. I love them, but kids can't enjoy them. We gotta tote that line and make it so that everybody can enjoy these movies. That would be the best for everyone. So super duper cool. I can't wait to see any of these movies. They all sound great. And to see how they interconnect, how it's gonna evolve, who these people are gonna be that are gonna play these characters. He also notes that animated characters' voices, those people will play the live-action versions of these characters when they come into the interconnected stories or crossover films that occur. So that is awesome, too. An interconnected, simple, one universe type of mind idea. So that's awesome. He has also hinted at that he would like to make big, like, Crisis type movies, like Crisis on Infinite Earths, or, Kingdom Come, I believe, are two of the stories he has hinted at that he would love to do. Now, these are important to bring up because, this proves that, in a sense, that the Snyderverse is probably not fully gone as we knew it, because he would need multiple versions of Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman, and multiple characters, even the Flash and Aquaman and all these people. So if we get to this point, we could see these people come back. We could see a gray-haired Henry Cavill Superman, or an old, Ben Affleck Bruce Wayne character coming in, or even an older Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, and Jason Momoa as, Aquaman coming in to save the universe, or sacrificing themselves to save the universe, to move on to these new characters and save or bring the universe back together. So very, very cool. And it would be neat if we don't get another Flash movie, if we get 2 Crisis on Infinite Earths again, and Barry could sacrifice himself cinematically to defeat the dreaded Anti-Monitor. Oh, that would be epic indeed. Final thoughts on this whole thing. I would like to stress that I definitely believe that this is a positive thing to happen. These movies don't need to end anymore, thanks to things like the CW and even Spider-Man. These movies, they didn't end. We've just checked out. We are now focusing on a different multiverse. So that is very, very cool. Also, I would like to note that there have been rumors that the Snyderverse itself might stay intact and continue possibly on Netflix with, his dealings with them doing the Rebel Moon series and all that cool stuff. That could be very cool. And I don't want to hold it out as not happening because, everybody said that the Snyder Cut didn't exist. It could never happen. And here we sit today with the Snyder Cut, a reality. So let's see what happens. Maybe the Snyderverse can continue sort of Elseworld style, as Gunn said himself. Things like the Batman Matt Reeves story or the Joker story, those will exist within this Elseworlds storyline so that they can still continue because they are successful stories that people enjoy, and it allows them to expand quicker, knowing that they don't have to only be tied into their cinematic universe, as we like to say now. So, I would love to hear in the comments down below, what do you think of this video that James Gunn put out? Are you pleased that he did this? He has explained what he's going to do, where our movies that we were watching fit into a possible timeline moving forwards? Or are you upset ultimately that the Zack Snyder universe is finally actually coming to an end officially with this announcement? I would love to hear either way because it's always fun to have both points of view. I would love either or because they are all fun movies. I enjoy all of them. I include movies like Green Lantern into the Snyderverse myself. Most people didn't like it, but I love it. Even movies like Sucker Punch and Watchmen to me belong within the Snyderverse. Find those Easter eggs and you'll see what I see. As always, like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.